Mother Teresa is considered one of the most altruistic women in history because she dedicated her life to helping those in need. Someone who's altruistic would donate items to those who are less fortunate, lend items to a neighbor and expect them to be returned at a later date. Benevolent. Although Ashley was being benevolent when she gave Alex the $250 gift card, he returned it to her because he didn't want to feel like he owed her anything, which is an example of a benevolent deed. Calling in sick to get your friend out of work, paying the bill for the person behind you in line. Brash. Max made a brash decision to push his sister. When she scraped her knee, he got his phone taken from him for a month. Which example would be a brash phrase to say to your principal? Who do you think you're talking to, lady? I have some ideas that could improve the school. Diffident. Because he was diffident in class, his classmates thought he was not smart. In actuality, he had straight A's in all of his classes, but he wasn't confident enough in himself to raise his hand. What is a situation in which you may act diffidently? Working with a new group of people you don't know, hanging out with your closest family and friends on the weekend. Disingenuous. The disingenuous car salesman tried his best to get people to pay too much money for the hoopty cars on his lot by calling them American classics. Someone who is disingenuous would be considered trustworthy. True or false? Eccentric. My eccentric mother decorates her house and yard with odd sculptures and objects. She uses an old toilet as a planter and an antique sink as a bird bath, which is an example of someone who is eccentric. A student who keeps to himself because he is shy. A student who wears different costumes to school each day. Exuberant. Because I had an exuberant amount of candy, I decided to share it with the students in my class. If the fans in the home stands of the football game are exuberant, what was the outcome of the game? The home team won the game, the home team lost the game. Flippant. Kendra's flippant attitude towards her schoolwork led her to being kicked off of the soccer team for failing a class. If you are flippant during class, you will probably receive Student of the Month. True? False? The film arts teacher at my school is haughty and considers herself to be above everyone else, and most of her students did not like her class. Which is an example of someone who is acting haughty. Someone who is celebrating that they just won the lottery. Someone is flaunting their new 5-carat engagement ring. Insidious. Jack's insidious plan to rob people by luring people to park under the pretense of having a flat tire failed when his first victim was an undercover police officer. Which type of person would more likely be insidious? Someone who is disingenuous, someone who is benevolent. Loquacious. Felicia was a loquacious person and often found herself talking to people in lines in stores, in bathrooms, and at work. Would it be easy to get a loquacious teacher off task? Yes, because they like to talk a lot. No, because they would not like to talk more than necessary. Magnanimous. She was grateful her principal was magnanimous because she knew she was wrong and could get into a lot of trouble for what she did. You would want your boss to be magnanimous if you arrived late to work. False? True. Malevolent. The clerk at the store had a malevolent smile and made me uncomfortable, so I left the store and went to a different one. If you had malevolent intentions for someone, what is your relationship? Best friends or enemies? Nonchalant. The nonchalant way he asked me out left me wondering if it was a date or just two friends getting together. A nonchalant person is probably easily agitated. True? False? Omnipotent. In some cultures, gods are considered to be omnipotent and all-powerful. What is an antonym for omnipotent? All-knowing, limited knowledge, or godlike. Pretentious. Even though Jake was a millionaire, he avoided hanging out with pretentious people who like to flaunt their wealth. Someone as pretentious would be considered disingenuous. True? False? Sophomoric. When Jason and Heather went out on dates, Jason often displayed sophomoric behaviors that really embarrassed Heather in front of her mature friends. Someone who acts sophomoric during class could end up receiving a detention for their behavior. True? False? Superficial. Sal was relieved the damage to his house was superficial. A simple paint job to repair the surface damage was much less money than he anticipated spending. How would you care for a superficial wound? Placing a Band-Aid over the cut, going to the hospital to get stitches. Temerity. Noelle couldn't believe the temerity her best friend displayed when she questioned the principal in front of the entire sophomore class. Some respected her, while others thought she was entirely too brash. An example of someone displaying temerity would be politely asking someone to switch seats with you, cutting in front of a person in line who is clearly easily agitated. Vociferous. At the pep rally, the most vociferous class wins the spirit stick because noise equates to spirit. Mrs. Christie uses a vociferous voice when she teaches. How does her class respond? They put in earbuds because they don't want to hear her talk loudly, or they are able to fall asleep because her voice is soothing. Those are your words for the week.